In 1995, David McCabe was happily married and expecting his first child. He never imagined he would become a single father.
I met my wife when I was 21 years old. I was in the Navy and met her on a night out, and I thought, yeah, this is it. So I got married, and 9 years later, and we were expecting our first baby.
So there you were, all excited, rushing off to hospital.
Yeah.
What happened?
Everything was going okay for a while, but then all of a sudden, and just things went seriously wrong. Annalise was stillborn. They resuscitated her, and the doctor had said to me, we don't think she's going to survive more than a couple of hours.
Annalise did survive, but she was left with cerebral palsy, and Irene, David's wife, found the situation unbearable.
The pressures of that took its toll on the marriage, and as sad as it is, she left the house, and I was left holding
you?
Yeah, and I was left holding the child.
The couple divorced, but Irene continued to help David with Annalise, who needed round-the-clock care. Then tragedy struck again when Annalise was 7. Irene was diagnosed with cancer, and she later died.
I felt I was completely on my own. I was isolated.
So while you were in these dreadful circumstances, all on your own, how important was faith?
At the time, Anne, I didn't have a faith. But it was when I went on a holiday with several of the families in similar circumstances to myself, I met 2 families who were Christian. They had a relationship with Jesus. Then I realised, Anne, that Jesus wanted to have a relationship with me at a time when I felt that nobody would ever want to have a relationship with me. Finding faith released me from the feelings of being in a prison, and I felt more like it was a privilege to be Annalise's father. Is this what you want? It was about 4 years after we'd started going to the church that Donna walked in, and I just went, wow. And I'm afraid to say, and it took me about a year before I asked her out. And a couple of months after we'd started dating, I asked her to marry me, and she said yes.
This arboreal delicacy was devoured in a record-breaking 89 hours.
You haven't got a chocolate log, have you?
Roy Castle was the presenter of the BBC children's programme Record Breakers for over 20 years, and generations of young people grew up watching him. 22-year-old Fiona Dixon saw him on TV and knew she just had to meet him.
It was through Eric Morecambe. I was at their home, Joan, Eric's wife, and him. And Roy happened to come on the television, and I just said to Eric, oh, if ever you do a show with Roy Castle, can I come along, because I'd love to meet him. I was in love with him at that point. So eventually Eric did ring me and said he was doing a television with Roy, would I like to go along? Just before the show started, Eric introduced me, and I thought it was going to be the best moment of my life, and it turned out to be the worst, because he just said, Roy, this is Fiona, she's in love with you. It was so embarrassing.
And then you were married for 31 years, you had a family in that time?
Had 4 children, yes, and it was a very happy marriage until at one time I got really low in my spirit. My self-esteem was rock bottom, and it was then that I cried out to God and just said, help, I can't go on like this any longer. I was really almost suicidal, and that day I invited Jesus into my life, and everything totally was transformed from that moment onwards.
In 1992, aged just 59, Roy found out he had terminal lung cancer.
Roy was very matter-of-fact when he came home and told me about it, but I just felt as if I'd turned to stone. I couldn't move, and I started to pray, and I just said, God, what are you doing? And it was almost as if I heard an audible voice at that moment saying, stand back and see what I'm going to do through this. And suddenly I realized that God hadn't abandoned us, he still loved us, and he was just going to see us through.